Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inkspilled Glimmers. Shimmering Sky is just a few days away, and we couldn't be more thrilled. So, we invited in studios two pro players, Alexandru Taberna and Patrick Cote, who both won their invites in Atlanta and Chicago, respectively, to come and do us a little review. We pre selected a few cards that we think will have either some importance or are part of a cycle that needed to be reviewed. So, Patrick, Alexandru, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Hello. Glad to be back.
Yeah. So, how excited are you about the perspectives of this new set?
I have to say, I am excited, though, with some confidence, I want to say. For the next month, I'm talking for myself. I'm pretty sure I'm talking for Patrick as well. We're preparing for DLC Toronto, where the set will not be legal yet. So for now, the cards are kind of non-existent for my perspective. For the next month, we're still preparing with set 4 without Bucky. So that's what we set our goal, our eyes on. But we like looking at the new cards. We like knowing where we'll go afterwards.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. I mean, I've seen all the cards like once, but didn't try to build any deck yet with the set 5 because I'm focusing on trying to build the best deck for Toronto. So yeah.
Well, I'll be enjoying them for you guys in the meantime. So let's jump right away with, I think, one of the big pieces of the set. Prince Naveen, ukulele player. A 5-drop, uninkable, 3/3 quester for 2 with Singer 6 that reads, when you play this character, you may play a song with cost 6 or less for free.
Just a little correction. You said a 5-drop. It's a 4-drop.
4-drop, yeah. That's what I meant.
It's even better. I want to say, like, we're starting really, like, heavy right now with the heavy hitters. In my opinion, probably one of the most impactful cards of the set. It's not necessarily the most flashy card, but it's definitely one of the most powerful. It's raw power incarnate. It's gonna see its place probably in Steel Song. Maybe not as a 4-of, because it's an uninkable. The deck is already heavy on uninkables, so maybe we'll have to strike a balance about that. I don't know what you have to say about it.
This one will definitely see play. I mean, the first choice is surely the Steel Song. It's funny because it's a Singer 6, but you really just need Singer 5 for Steel Song to be very powerful. So this card even have more potential for future sets. And also for the Steel Song player, usually when you lose it's because you cannot keep a character to sing songs on play. So this one can like sing when it comes into play. So that's a very strong effect. You can do your whole new world without having a board control. So pretty good card. And if it stays on the board, you can sing again next turn. So yeah, it's pretty good. And having 2 lore questing, it's a good bonus for the card.
Yeah, and with Ariel coming down the turn before, finding that whole new world or grab your sword or what have you, it'll definitely make some impact here.
And also, I have to mention, there's that new green-yellow song deck that might also benefit from it.
Yeah.
Moving right along with Kristoff, Reindeer Keeper. So this is part of the cycle of 9-drop characters that have some kind of cost reducer attached to them. In the case of Kristoff, it's for each song in your discard, you play 1 less to play this character. It's a bodyguard, quest for 3, a 3/7, guys.
I would say it's probably quite playable as maybe more of a fringe card than a really powerhouse like Naveen was. Probably, again, is going to see its spot in the same decks we just named. So green-yellow songs and steel songs again, due to his ability being reduced by songs. It's quite large, right? We have to say it's quite large. It's a good quester, but I still feel it's probably a 1-of at best.
Yeah, I think I need to mention what's in everyone's mind right now. Like, obviously, it dies to Medusa. It's a big factor. But one thing that's really cool with this card compared to Chernobog is that when you bring it back from hand with, like, Revive card and stuff like that, not the new Revive card, but, like, other ways to bring back, like, the Yellow Hades, then it still costs less because it doesn't bring back the song into your deck. So when you bring back Chernobog, it comes back and you play it, and all the characters goes back in the deck, so it costs a lot again. But this one you can just bring it back all over again. If you have 9 song in your discard, you can always play it for free after you bring it back in your hand. So this is a very interesting thing because it will die to Medusa, but if you can play it over and over again, then at some point it's gonna stay in Quest for 3.
Or if you can play 2 or 3 in a turn.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Mirabel Madrigal, Family Gatherer, the 5-cost legendary 5/5, questing for 5. That you can't play this character unless you have 5 or more characters in play. And I have to say, before passing it to you, I tried to break this card so much, but every single way to cheat it, be it Mufasa, be it Revive, Just in Time, Beebity Boppity Boo, it's all play, so there's no way to bring this card into play without 5 characters.
Yeah, I'm sure Patrick could just confirm that with us. He's a
Yes.
judge, so there's no way to cheat about this card, which, in my opinion, makes it kind of trash. I think it's probably one of the worst legendaries in the set. It being also the promo card for the next set championship for Shimmering Skies, and that they upped the number on it for the top 8 instead of the top 4. I feel this card has nothing going on for itself.
Yeah, maybe there's one thing to cheat with this, but it's not about playing it, because as the rule says, that you cannot play this card, overrides every other ways to play it, like the Revive card, we just seen this set. The only thing you can really do with her is play her with the, I think it's a queen, like the green queen or witch, that can discard a card from your hand and does lore for the lore printed on the card. And this one, I don't enjoy the art that much because the 5 is very little in that one single icon, but she actually quests for 5, so if you discard it with that queen, then you can get 5 lore this way. So it's kind of the only ways to play that card, I guess, because otherwise it's not really playable at all.
Moving right along to Minnie Mouse, Drum Major. 5-drop Inkable for 4, questing for 2, shift 4. With Parrot Order, when you play this character, if you use shift to play her, you may search your deck for a character card, reveal it to all players, shuffle your deck, put that card on top of it. So our first true character tutor in Lorcana.
I think this is why we included this card on the list. If I remember when we're working on the list of cards to include for today, so I saw it as very interesting that you can go tutor for another character. By herself, the Minnie is not that exciting, I want to say. It's quite whatever as a body, as a quester, and everything. The shift is not a big reduce compared to her cost, but I still want to say a tutor is a tutor, and in almost any game it has some value, so maybe people will find combo lines or just like value lines out of it. I haven't dug into that quite yet. Maybe you did, Patrick, but
I think this card will just get better with time because you get more characters that do effect when they come into play, because it would have been a lot stronger if it would have been like songs or action also, but since it's only character, I feel like the combo is limited because you cannot just play her and sing something. You need to bring a character on top. You don't draw it either. And also you need to shift, and the number of good Minnie Mouse is quite limited. I know they had it more in this set, but if you want a lot of targets, you kind of need to play yellow-red. Maybe this will see play in a Mufasa for that reason. You can search for your precious Mufasa, but other than that, I'm not sure, because I feel like more often you'll need to play it without a shift target because the other Minnie Mouse are quite weak.
Yeah, or maybe, as you said, Ember Ruby. The Robin deck will probably depend on Robin a lot. Might be a way to get it, but yeah, not particularly viable compared to this one here.
Yeah.
Probably one of the better super rares we've had in a while. Daisy Duck, Donald's Date. 1-drop uninkable, 1/4. Quest for 2. And when she quests, each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character card, they may put it in their hand. Otherwise, put it in the bottom of their deck. Is that card a meta shifter, and why is it?
You mean the biggest banger in the whole set? Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be amazing. I said like I wasn't looking into the new list and whatnot. Well, I've taken a peek, and like everybody is doing like some kind of lemon lime aggro, steel songs with that card. Like, my god, this is a game changer. It puts aggro back on the menu. I feel I'm gonna go ahead and say it's probably the card of the set. again, I think I just said it a few sentences ago, but it's probably the best card. It's humongously oversized at 1/4 for one. I think it's not, there's no way to remove it efficiently before like what, turn 2 or 3.
Turn 3, I think, is the earliest with a brawl or 2 characters or something.
Yeah, there's no clean answer to it. That's the biggest problem, and it quests for a whole lot. It's so aggressive.
Yeah, I think this card is what the aggro players were waiting for, because the aggro deck were not having a lot of success in the DLC challenge, but this could really change the tides of it and have aggro players do really good, because basically if you put this on turn 1, it will probably do at least 4 lore, if not 6 before it's handled. Like obviously the little Sisu can handle it. Right now the only counter you can do is a Befuddle on turn 1 on the draw against this card, but it doesn't even destroy it or banish it. I mean, it just returns it back so they can play it again on turn 2. Maybe they're gonna play 2 of them, so I feel like there will be some very nut start where people will play like 3 of them in the first 2 turns, and then it can really just end the game right there on the spot. And even if you play it later in the game, like it still survives to grab your sword and stuff like that. So this one is pretty strong for sure.
You could imagine starts with like that, and I don't know, Cursed Merfolk or Lilos in the same color, or Maleficent. It's a lot of uninkable.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like so aggressive. We've seen like Emerald Amethyst that have really good starts with like Merfolk into Merfolk Pegasus into Shift into like win the game sometimes.
Yeah.
And I like how that value is so huge that no one's even caring about like the text on it that says your opponent
It's
might
a
draw
downside. It's very comparable to a card that we have in another game that has been a staple in the prime aggressive deck of that game for years and years and years. I think the card is over 10 years old now, and it's still played nowadays. I think this is gonna be the same thing.
I just want to mention also about the ability, because sometimes it's not even a negative thing, it's a positive thing, because you can get information. Like, for instance, if the other player is having a grab your sword on top, then they need to reveal it, and then you see that it's not a grab your sword. So,
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Also, if they put, as you said, cards on top, you can just have them discard it. So, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Vanellope von Schweitz. I think that's the one that's in the D100 set, releasing at the same time as the set, actually. 4-drop Inkable, 2/4, Shift for 2, Quest for 2, and I hereby decree, whenever you play another princess character, all opposing characters get -1 attack until the start of your next turn.
I feel this is an interesting card. I know I vouch for it to be included in the list.
Mhm.
I think it's quite a thematic quirk that you have to play princesses to reduce the power of everything, but it works along the same lines as Kita from set 3. So if you build your deck in a way where you have a princess and then you can probably sing Under the Sea and stuff like that in the green yellow deck I've been referencing a whole lot, which I think is one of the things that is on the horizon. It gained a lot of traction in the past weeks. I think we're gonna see it in Toronto again, and maybe it's also gonna survive the new set coming out and making it stronger. I think this is a prime spot where you can have her.
Yeah. Just reading the card, it seems like it has been made to play with Under the Sea and the classic green-yellow combo. It's like another Kita for the deck. Other than that, I feel like it could probably potentially sing the Zeus on turn 2 or the Big King on turn 2, but there's usually not that much value to do that on turn 2, so you're just wasting a shift. It's a 2/4, it kind of survive a bit, but I'm not sure it's going to see a lot of play outside of green-yellow.
And
I
it's
mean,
also,
I'm gonna try her in my Amber Sapphire hero/princess deck that cares about both hero and princess types to perform. So
and it's such an early shift. Like it's a big body. A 2/4 is quite large, and the two quest pips makes it quite aggressive too.
oh, one of my favorite cards here. So I keep saying that the uncommons are better than the legendaries in this set, and this is one of the prime examples of that. Alan Adele, Rockin' Rooster, 4-cost Inkable 2/3, questing for 2, that says whenever you play a song, gain a lore. So flute on the body, reusable multiple times a turn.
It is a great card. I said that the Daisy Duck is probably one of the better card in the set. I said Naveen is super good. This kind of has to fight for the same spot as Naveen. But this being inkable, I think is huge as an engine. It's just really a good card. It's a I call them legendary uncommons. I would take that any day over the Madrigal, the Mirabel
Mirabel.
Madrigal. So it's great. It's aggressive again. Quest for two and generates a lot of lore without having to be exerted. Just amazing.
Yeah, like any other good card we know, like the Go that does surprise lore. I like to say you can basically do lore without anything on the board. You can play that and do the Storm Rage on, and then directly one lore. So this card is even better as the game goes longer, which is something that sometimes the Steel Sound player struggles when the game gets longer against Blue Red or something like that. It's hard, but this one, and it's better in the flute in the way that it can trigger more than one. So yeah, this has a lot of potential both mid and late game.
Revive. So, an action for 5 uninkable that says play a character card with cost 5 or less from your discard for free.
I think this is one of your favorites, right?
I mean, I love the archetype of being able to play with your discard pile, brings back stuff the way Hades was doing it, but being able to go from the discard to the battlefield to me is bringing a new dimension to the game.
Oh, it's great. I can see loops with that and Mufasa. Like that's what everybody's been talking about. Like you revive into your Mufasa, then the Mufasa kind of dies naturally over the course of turns, and you get something else, and you just keep the ball rolling. I think there are a lot of applications to that card.
Mhm.
For sure, it's uninkable. It has to have a pitfall, and it's not a song. It would have been huge as a song, but not everything can be. But I think this is one of the good ones, and it will probably spawn archetypes. That's what's important about it. It might create new decks.
Yeah, it's a good card, and I like the fact that the heart is about Mother Gothel. So it's funny because we were talking about loops. You can basically play the green Mother Gothel to bring it back to play more revive. You cannot bring back the Mother Gothel because she costs 6, but still it's an action, so you can play it over and over again and have maybe your green yellow Mufasa deck going strong with this.
Yep. And do it again as well,
Yeah.
doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So, the Queen's Sensor Core, one of the items in Amber. This set 2 cost inkable. At the start of your turn, if you have a princess or a queen, gain 1 lore. So we were talking about princess synergy a second ago. And for 2 inks and a tap, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a princess or a queen, you may put it into your hand. Otherwise, leave it on the top of your deck.
So I think I again vouch for this card to be so that we include this card in our list. I feel it's more of a roguish card. It's probably a card that people that like to brew, that like to play off meta and budget minded decks will like a lot. You can cook up quite thematic deck with that, and it's a really good engine. Again, it's an engine that gains lore. It provides you with some how I want to say some card advantage. For sure, it's maybe a bit clunky, but still, it in yellow where it's character heavy, you need to have something that unlocks you sometimes. So it can dig. It does a lot of stuff. I think it's very interesting. That was my take on it. I probably won't see it ever in any competitive lists, but I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because Princess or Queen are basically a lot of good cards. I was trying the little 2/2 that boost the attack of a King, Queen, and stuff like that in the other set, and I figured out that all the cards were already Princess and Queen. So if you look at Steel Song, there's a lot of them in there. You can probably put more to make this more valuable. I think maybe the one way to play it that's more efficient is to have a Princess or Queen that's ward, and you just leave it there unexerted, and you just get lore every time without even having to pay any ink to do it, and then you can try to find more Princess or Queen. So yeah, this one is very interesting. I think it opens new archetypes too.
Oops.
Skip them.
The Ember Chromicon, the other cycle we're reviewing today. So that's the Ember one. 2 cost thinkable item for a tap. For an exert, you can remove up to 1 damage for each of your characters.
I think this is quite good. Uh, Maybe not huge, but I have to just name the fact that there's an archetype floating around since set 2 with Grandpappy, which a lot of people tried to make work. I know you did.
I did.
And I think it's quite interesting because this is like repeatable every turn. This is gonna trigger your grandpappy, as well as other things. I was when we were pre-reviewing this set together and cooking this video. I named the Jasmine, the Shift Jasmine from set 1 that spiked a bit in price when set 2 came along, and grandpappy was released. So I think this is another way to just trigger it again, because that card triggers every time you remove damage. So I think it's quite interesting. It's probably in my upper tier of Chromicons. I'm gonna probably provide you with my tier of Chromicons by the end of the video, and this one is probably in the above tier.
Yeah, this one seems made to be played with Pabby, and it would be nice to see Ember Sapphire come into play more because it's not a color pairing that we see a lot. Or otherwise, I think this could see play also with like mid range with characters that has a lot of health with the Rapunzel and discard, so you just put pressure on the board and keep healing them, which would be pretty strong against Steel. Maybe not as strong as against Ruby, but still this has a lot of potential because it's inkable basically.
Yeah, like the the self wound red
Yeah.
yellow deck that you have the Mulan, you have the wounded beast, you have the Madrigal. This is quite good. Sometimes you don't have enough to heal them completely, and the bodies are huge on these characters, so it's interesting.
Maleficent, Formidable Queen, moving on to Amethyst. So, 8 cost, 7/7, shift 6, questing for 2. When you play this character, for each of your character named Maleficent in play, return a chosen opposing character, item, or location with cost 3 or less to their player's hand. So, Maleficent team deck.
Yeah. So this is one of the first thematic like have many of X named character from the set. They started doing this with I know Maleficent with the Queen. We're gonna see some of them later on in the review. I think I wanted to include this Maleficent in the review just because people were quite excited for a shift Maleficent, maybe having some value with your smaller Maleficent, the sorceress from the set 1 that is still quite played nowadays in a few decks. It is a big body for sure. It's quite expensive. It's uninkable again, but I think it provides a lot of values of like, oh, I'm gonna draw a card of my small Maleficent, and I'm gonna shift this one onto it. Maybe have a few other ones lying around, and just starting to board control. If you have multiple ones, it triggers multiple times, so it's quite interesting what you can do with it.
Yeah, I like the fact that it doesn't mention other Maleficent, like this one count too. So just playing her by herself does the effect. And the play where I see this will probably come into is when you have the classic 3-drop Maleficent that draws a card that just basically does nothing after it draws a card. And then you can shift this to Sing Be Prepared on turn 6, so you have a 1 turn early Be Prepared. That could be very interesting. Or if you really want to go all in on the Maleficent, I think you need to play the classic Purple, which is Amethyst Sapphire. There's a lot of big body Maleficent there in blue. They're all vanilla, but still maybe there's potential with that card to do a big tempo shift.
Moving on to Cogsworth, Illuminary Watchman. So 1 drop, 1/1. When you play this character, chosen character gains rush this turn.
So I know you were quite intrigued by that card. You talked about it with me a few times when we were coming up with the list of cards. I find it really interesting because it's kind of a small increase to any character in a challenge deck. I know we're gonna probably talk about this archetype of Amethyst X challenge that you've been trying to work around. Your son tried to
Yep.
work around with
Ruby
with
Amethyst Challenge.
Ruby Amethyst Challenge. So there are a few cards from the new set that fit quite nicely into the archetype. I think this is one of them. It costs one. If I remember correctly, is it's as cheap as sometimes you can bring it back and just like recycle it a lot with certain other cards. So I think this is one of the interesting small bullets in the set. I don't think it's like a powerhouse that will enable massive changes in the meta, but still.
Yeah, on my side, I really love this card because I did play a lot of Amethyst with the bounce package. Back in the day, I like playing Pinocchio, bouncing it back, playing it again because it's a card with a great enter the battlefield effect, just like this Cogsworth. But this one is inkable, so you can play turn 1, bounce it with the snake on turn 2. You have a way to give rush to anything. And in this set, we'll see, I think after this one, there's a new bounce card that's an elephant, which is better when it has damage on it. So if you have the Cogsworth in play, you can play the elephant, play it again, put rush on the elephant, do a trade, and then you have the elephant triggering its ability next turn. So just having a lot of ways to bounce this guy is pretty good because usually the 1-drops are pretty bad in the late game, but this one can still be valuable in late game. So having to draw this late, it's not as bad as the other 1-drop we used to see. So yeah, I really like this card because of the color. Basically, it fits well.
Yep, or even just as a trap on turn 2 against like a Merfolk or a Pluto that exerts. Because the board is clear, there's not much rush on turn 2, so no, definitely some interesting plays here. Archimedes, so that's the small one. We'll go quite fast on it. It's mostly the shift target for the bigger one, but still a 2/2 evasive, questing for 2 for 3 lore. So
It's just an aggressive, evasive body. I put it there just for consideration about the shift Archimedes that we'll see probably as the next slide. But yes, that's why it's there. It also can trade into a Diablo. It's interesting to know. If you have this, it's kind of a way. It's kind of a deterrent to your opponent to tap their Diablo aggressively.
Yeah.
So-
To me, this is just a worse version of the red Surfer Mini because of the stat line that dies to more stuff. But since it's an Amethyst, and Amethyst is better known for having aggro deck, I think this might see play just because of the 2 lore that's hard to kill for other colors than steel.
yep. And talking about your elephant,
A beautiful.
Madame Mim Elephant, probably one of the best arts of Madame Mim we've had so far. 4 drops, 3/7. When you play this character, banish her, well, bounce Madame Mim, as they all have. And sneaky move. At the start of this turn, after the start of your turn, you may move up to 2 damage counters from this character to chosen opposing characters. So, as you said, Patrick, a card that benefits from having damage on itself.
Yeah, I would say that it fits quite nicely into just the Ruby Amethyst package that we already have. It's inkable, which is very nice for it to have this flexibility. For sure, it's not doing the same work as the Rabbit, that is just a draw engine, but it's one additional way to have a bounce tool for the deck, because we only had 2 as of now. We had the Mim Fox, Mim Snake.
There's Mim Dragon, but nobody plays that.
As I said, we have 2 of them. I'm just saying that for the competitive consideration. And the only thing that makes me sad about this card is there's no pun about it being the elephant in the room as a flavor text.
Yeah. I like this card a lot. I think the only problem with the card is the cost because there's so many good Amethyst cards at 4, so you need to make choices. So maybe this is a card you play only 2 of in your deck. But the feature is pretty nice, and we've seen Cogsworth. You can give rush to that card, so it has damage on your next turn. Or maybe this will bring back the Teeth Inhibition card, which would be very good with this one if you play it and you sing Teeth on it on the turn you play it. The other thing I want to point out is that you can move damage from an opponent character to another opponent character. So even though this card might not have damage on your next turn, if there's a 4 health character with 2 damage and a Diablo, you can move the damage on the Diablo and kill it. So it's
not on this one. This one says from this character, though.
It's from this character.
It's one of the only like move damage that is specific to that character.
Yeah,
That's why I like Bell. Okay, that's a little bit.
Yeah. The bell is interesting, but like having many of these effects like you can build an archetype also with that.
So, talking about archetypes, and a Mystical Majesty, 7 uninkable, 4/5, questing for 2, shift 4. When you play this character, exert all opposing characters.
So you were talking earlier about the challenge archetype, the Amethyst Ruby challenge deck. That is probably maybe a different flavor of the Ruby Amethyst let's say mid-range bounce archetype that does it all so well. So now it's just an interesting tool because you have to build quite differently with it. You need a shift target for her to be good. I feel 7 is a whole lot to pay for that effect. But sometimes if you just hard cast her, you have a sizable board to go around with that. If when you shift her, is also that she will be able to challenge off of her effect, which is quite nice. She's quite aggressive again, 4/5 with two questing power. It's I feel it's an interesting tool. I don't know how much of it we will see. It might also be interesting in some kind of like more rampy, more chunkier blurple list. I feel if you're able to have some interesting trade potential with some blue cards.
Yeah, I feel like there's not enough good target for the shift right now, but this has potential to be better in the future. And probably Sapphire Amethyst would be the best place for this card, so you can still play it even if it's a high cost. And what the drawback of playing Ruby Amethyst Sapphire is that you don't have any board wipe. So at least this you can exert every opponent character, and if you have a character on board, you can do the trades, favorable trades, and even destroy Cogsworth that has a ward. So being able to exert warded character, that's pretty strong. So this
Yeah.
probably have a place in Sapphire Amethyst, but
To me,
the
that's where
shift
this card
is
shine
weak.
is being able to deal with both ward character and in the late game being able to exert a character that just came on board like a Tamatoa or something like that, because Amethyst doesn't have any kind of hard removal. It's either return to the deck or to the hand or exert it. So seeing some kind of board wipey mechanic in Amethyst is interesting to me. Talking of the big Archimedes from earlier, so here cards on screen. Mainly it's a shift 3 with evasive that has Challenger +3.
So this one is quite large. It shifts for not a lot of resources. I feel this is meant to be kind of a Diablo killer. So it's a bird eating another bird. So thematic. It's also quite aggressive. They went all out with two questing power in this set. They put it a lot. Maybe they feel that games have to resolve quicker. I don't know. They put also a lot of uninkable, but that's my general feeling about this set. That everything's uninkable and everything quest for 2. So, but I feel it's an interesting tool for Amethyst to have to be able to just smash into that those Diablos.
I find it funny that they just released this card along with the other Archimedes that is a 3-drop, because this one shifts on 3 and you don't really want to remove a 2/2 evasive that quest for 2 by placing this one on top. So potentially we'll see the Archimedes from set 1, the 1/2 is probably a better target. Maybe that's gonna enable a lot of cool plays with the Amethyst Steel deck where you can shift on 3 and do some magic with grab or whole new world. Other than that, I feel like if you just play it for 5, it's pretty weak. Still dies to Medusa the next turn because it costs 5.
Yep.
Yeah, you need to kind of surprise your opponent with this. So shifting on a card that doesn't have evasive seems like a better way to go.
Yeah.
So, legendary of this set, the Genie main attraction, 7 cost uninkable, questing for 2. Alexander, you called it. 5/5, and while this character is exerted, opposing characters can't ready at the start of their turn.
So again, one of the weird legendaries I want to say in this set. I feel that it has a lot of conditions for it to be good. Uh, like you don't want to wait for a turn for it to go questing, so you're given a window to your opponent to remove it, because the effect is really, really good. I have to say the effect of not being able to ready your characters is really good. But the hoop you have to jump through, being being to have it exerted, is quite hard. I know you had found ways with other
There's
cards.
Hydros, I think, and one other card. I think one of the mirrors or something that can exert your own characters.
Yeah, so there are ways to exert it, but I feel those are kind of clunky cards. So this is why I don't quite believe in this card as much as of now. Maybe they will print something in future sets that will make you able to exert as soon as you play it. But as of now, I just feel it's maybe one of the more lacklusters legendary.
Yeah, this just reminds me of Tiana. Like it's a very strong feature, kind of a game lock. Tiana was about action. This is about ready character. There's not a lot of ways to put this character exerted the turn it's played, but right now we've seen the new Archimedes, and there's also an Elsa that can give rush. So potentially you can play it, do a trade. The only thing is that since it needs to be exerted, it's kind of easy to destroy it when the effect is in play. At least it did work once, so they don't ready up after it's dead, but the next turn they will. So potentially you need to play this with bodyguards because otherwise it's not gonna last long. Any Maui will eat the Genie any day. So yeah, it's a tough card to make work, but when it does, it's probably winning the game.
Magica De Spell, Cruel Sorceress, the anti-Bucky card without a Bucky. So, 4 cost Inkable 2/5 with during opponent's turn, if an effect would cause you to discard one or more cards from your hand, you don't discard. So,
I think you just saw the face I made when you said the anti-Bucky card. I saw people on the internet going like, "Oh, why did they errata Bucky if they were about to print this card?" I'm like, it costs 4. It's only in Amethyst. It's so restrictive. It is not gonna just constrain the Bucky archetype by itself. I feel we still had to talk about this card because of that consideration. I will probably name the best feature about it, which is the one that if your opponent wants to cast a whole new world, you just draw a new 7. You don't have to discard your hand, so they're not screwing you over. They're not tampering with your strategy. But I feel this is the only good application of the card. I don't think it's gonna be playable.
Yeah, without Bucky in the game, I think this is only good against All New World, and it's too small of games when you need it, and the stats are not that good. So I don't think it will see play.
might be if like the meta evolves to a
Yeah.
green Prince John meta like it does every now and then.
At least it's good against Steel, like because of the whole new world and has 5 health. So
Yep.
unless they have Zeus, it's hard to destroy that card. But against any other deck, it's not gonna do much.
Yeah, no, it's a tech card for sure. Camilo Madrigal, the character Lucky Dime. So 6 cost Inkable. He's a family copycat, a 3/7. And whenever this character quests, you may gain lore equal to the lore of chosen other character of yours. Return that character to your hand.
I know you like this card a whole lot. I think you were telling me it's about one of your favorite in the set.
It's probably one of my favorite in the set, especially in like a blurple kind of thing. So Amethyst Sapphire, I think, is going to benefit from that.
I feel the potential. Like I'm rereading this card every time because I never seem to remember what it does. I read it and reread it, and every time I kind of find applications for it. So maybe it's better than I seem to think it is. Just because it buys back characters, it creates another bounce engine that is actively winning you the game. So you can buy back characters. I'm not gonna go into too much of spoilers for other colors, but like there's a new flashy blue card that you could bounce back to your hand and maybe try and shift again. You know what I'm talking about,
Yep.
and generate some massive value out of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this card just yet. I feel like the ability can be good, but at 6 costs, it's a bit late in the game, so it can be handled by a lot of removal. Because one thing we see with aggro decks sometimes is like the Maleficent questing for 2 and being bounced back by the snake. So at least with this one, you also get 2 lores back if you do this to protect your Maleficent. But it's quite slow because you need to play it and then you need to quest with it. it's good that it survives to Maui, but I don't know if it's enough. And you only quest for one, so you really only do a lot of value if you bond something that has a lot of lore on it. Otherwise, it doesn't swing game by itself.
Yeah, that's why I see it more in Sapphire, where like you
Mhm.
already have the ink to replay anyway, so you play your Tamatoa, you quest with your Tamatoa, you quest with Camilo, return Tamatoa to end, drop down the Tamatoa, untap, so he's protected in
Or with
itself.
like with Bell, like
Yeah, or Bell.
like protecting your Bell, which is quite fragile,
Mhm.
is something.
Yeah, so to me, a deck that's able to ramp, use it earlier than the traditional wipes for it, like might have some kind of advantage here. We Know the Way. A 3-cost song that says shuffle chosen card from your discard into your deck. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it has the same name as the chosen card, you may play the revealed card for free. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So another what was it? Bruno from set 4, a sorcerer's hat. So really tribal kind of card, not really meta viable, but
I have to say why I included it in our list, and it's really degenerate. So hear me out. It's a real corner case. You're in purple, so you're gonna draw a whole lot of cards. This works. It's a degenerate combo that only works if you're in Amber Amethyst. So you draw your whole deck. Okay, from the get go, it's the hard part. You have to draw your whole deck. So you have this. You have one of this in your discard. So and you have Alanadale, the big rooster, on the play. So you might even sing this one. Like you sing it with Alanadale. You name the same card. We know the way. You put it back into your deck. You play it for free and you win the game. Like it's an instant win button, but like I said, your deck has to be empty. So that's why it's so convoluted. But that's why I want to mention it because I know a lot of combo aficionado that like to do cutesy stuff with it. So that's why I really wanted to talk about it.
I think this card has a lot of potential in the Emerald Amethyst deck because of the Ursula that can sing this twice. And I like the fact that even if you miss, you still get the card in your hand. You just don't play it, so it's not a huge miss like some other card that you need to tell names of the top. You also have a new card in the set. I'm not sure which color. We'll probably see it that can play the top card face up, so you're sure not to miss.
It's a Merlin's Cottage. It's
Yeah.
the location in blue.
I don't think we included it, but yeah,
We didn't
definitely
include
a
it.
good.
It would be good with this one, so you're sure not to miss at least the first one. But just singing that card twice, and also in Amethyst, you have a lot of good Merlins. So just saying Merlin, it works. So yeah, it's there's a lot of choice, good potential.
Oops. So, gathering knowledge and wisdom. 2-cost action, gain 2 lore. So,
So I included this one because people were really excited for just a amethyst amber, probably amber. That's the color of choice. To have a burn archetype. I'm naming burn as just going really fast. You're probably gonna include that Daisy Duck from Amber. You go like this into the Daisy into gathering knowledge and wisdom quest, and you're already at a lot on turn two. You're at 4 on turn two. That's nothing to scoff at, and sometimes it's just a way to kind of have it to go scrape a cheesy win. You're just like, okay, so your opponent has stabilized and everything. You don't have any more characters in play. You top deck that, and you just I win.
Yeah.
So it's just very
extra
a
goats,
burn
basically.
card.
It's like another gold, like we needed more gold, but this one at least is uninkable and you don't want to draw it early. Like if you play this on turn 2, I think it's pretty bad because you can always play a 2-drop that would probably do 2 lords just by questing. So this is the kind of card you want to get late game as a finisher, and it's probably just good in decks that draws a lot of cards, so you're sure to have it, but still add other stuff to play, not just do a playing this card and pass, because that's just not doing much if you're not winning by playing it. So
So, our next Chromicon, the Amethyst. So, tap, each player may draw a card.
This is one of the mid tier Chromicons in my opinion. It's fine. your whole thing in Amethyst is to draw cards, but you're giving cards to your opponent as well. Maybe if you're in some kind of like Emerald Amethyst shell where you can like make them draw a card to discard again. I know it was a trick I like to do back in the day with Emerald Steel with Bucky. I was enabling them to draw their card of like Diablo to immediately remove it from them. But again, I think it's aggressively medium.
Yeah, I feel like you need the Emerald package with like the Prince John, so you make them draw a card to discard, and then you have drawn 2 cards and they draw 0. Actually, they lost 1 card, but it's quite limited because if you just use it without punishing the opponent for drawing, it's not really giving any value to you other than you draw first. I mean, during your turn, so you could use that card. Maybe with the Whole New World, but you don't really want to draw too much card with Whole New World decks. So yeah, I'm not sure about this one.
Elsa's Ice Palace. So 3 cost uninkable, 1 lore location that says when you play this location, choose an exerted character. While this location's in play, that character can't ready at the start of their turn.
I included this one because it's I think it's a tempo consideration. This is not gonna live long. If it lives for like 2 turns, you've gathered immense amount of tempo off of it. So you because you keep locking down a key character probably, and it's a kind of must answer. Your opponent has to find something to smash into it so they can unlock their key character. So I don't know how good it is. I think it's gonna have to be tried because it's really controlly. It's really slow. It's probably something along the line of Blurple more than anything. It will have to be tested.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about this one. It's probably only good against decks that doesn't have a lot of rush character and really play on like having one big like a Tamatoa. You can freeze it in some way, but yeah, I'm not sure this one
Yeah,
is.
or a Hiram. Like I can see
Yeah.
that locking in Hiram for a turn or two, and
Like I said, it's really all about tempo here. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna freeze your character forever.
And the character needs to be already exerted. Like if you could play this and exert then freeze, that would be much better. Because if you do this on Irem, they already draw 4 cards and Irem is still alive. So yeah, not sure.
moving on to Emerald. So the 9 cost reducer here. Robin Hood Timely Contestant. So for each 1 damage on opposing characters, you pay 1 less to play this character. Ward, Quest for Force, 6/6. There's a team that seems to emerge in Emerald Steel Robin Hood. And this card definitely can do some work in Emerald Steel.
Well, it's very pesky. It's a 6/6 word questing for 4. It's insanely aggressive
With Ward.
with Ward. Like it's just immense. But you have to play it with steel. I feel for it to be really good. For sure, if your opponent has a large board and you grab your sword them and not everything dies, this is where your Robin's gonna be quite cheap. But it's a lot of build around also.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be pretty rare that you're gonna play this for cheap because usually the decks that goes wide has little characters, so they're gonna die more than survive. And if they do, you're still having one big character against a lot of cheap ones. So probably you need to do like a sing grab your sword, play this, and then sing grab your sword again to clean it. So I think this one has potential, but maybe more with like the cheating. Maybe the green Hades that's not super strong could be better with this one because there's a lot of Robin Hood in the deck, and that card haven't seen play. So and the Musketeer, not Trumpeteer, Mickey Mouse, this one is pretty bad, so I don't think it's gonna work. But at least the 80s has better stats, so maybe you can sacrifice a 1-drop Robin Hood to put this one. And having that much cost to play a card, like sacrificing 1 card using 80s, it has to stay alive, and this one has Ward, so maybe there's
An
potential.
important reminder that it's for each 1 damage. So if you Zeus an opponent's Robin Hood, it's 5 less, so that this becomes a 4-drop. So
That would help a lot.
Yeah, it's not every character that has a damage. It's every damage on characters. But yeah, so you're calling it now. There's gonna be an Emerald juggling characters.
So many
deck.
good Robin Hood.
Speaking of good Robin Hoods, Small Robin Hood here, 2-drop Inkable Archery Contestant. When you play this character, if an opponent has a damage character in play, gain 1 lore, so green goat.
So I think this is more of like a shift target more than anything. Just a shift target that does something. If you're, I feel it will shine if you are not in steel, which is counterintuitive about its effect, because like steel is the good color to deal damage onto something, whilst this one is a good shift target for other Robin Hoods that are not in steel, or just an alternate kind of shift target. So that's probably how I feel about it.
One more shift target that at least does something late game if there's damage on the opponent, so that's good. And then it's also another Robin Hood, so maybe we're gonna see the Robin Hood bow item that readies when you play Robin Hood, so it's another trigger to ready that bow. So
Yeah, and we're gonna see later on in the Emerald review. We're also including the Robin Hood location. You'll see about it later.
Prince Phillip, Swordsman of the Realm, 7-cost Inkable, questing for 3. 3 strength, 9 willpower. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing dragon character. And whenever he challenges a damage character, ready this character after the challenge. So, important dragons to name right now: Sisu, 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 and Maleficent Dragon.
I was almost afraid that you would forget about this one. So yeah, I decided to include it. The first stat line is kind of whatever that about banishing a dragon, but I feel those characters that are able to ready themselves and still go questing again or re-challenge again, he has a whole lot of willpower, are quite interesting. I don't think it's quite a good card, but I always love my Prince Phillips in every set. I was playing a one of the shift Prince Philip in the beginning of set 4. I was shifting it morph after playing Tinkerbells to be able to board wipe. So yeah, it was just kind of a personal favorite. I don't think it's all that good, just quite interesting.
I like the second ability, but not the stat line. Unless you're playing against steel, probably. But yeah, the second ability is pretty cool because we all remember the Cinderella South-Hearted.
South-Hearted, yeah.
Yeah, that has like 3 lore questing, but also very good stat to trade board, and you often have the choice to make like, oh, should I quest for 3 or should I trade? What's the most valuable? And with this one, you can basically do both. You can trade and then quest. So pretty cool. It makes a lot of interesting play.
One of the exciting cards for a lot of people of this set, Clarabelle, Light on Her Hooves, 7-cost, Inkable, 5/6, shift 5, questing for 2, that says, at the end of your turn, if chosen opponent has more card in their hand than you may draw cards until you have the same number. So, activates the turn you play her, guaranteed 1 activation. What do you guys think?
I think this one is really interesting. I think it's one of the silently good legendary of the set. I first saw it. I wasn't that excited about it because I'm not such an aggressive player, but this in a green aggro shell seems insane. Like being able to just shift on a huge body and then drawing a whole lot of cards is just seems great. Just great.
Yeah. Maybe she's a way to play the Amethyst Chromicon, so when you make the other player draw, you're gonna draw from it at the end of the turn, so that's interesting. But yeah, you need to empty your hand quite fast with this one to be valuable, so you need to be aggro, or maybe you need to be like mid-range but using a lot of shift targets, so even though you're using 2 cards to put 1 character in play, you get to draw again, so yeah, you need to empty your hand pretty fast to make this good. But the stat line is pretty nice. It survives to a lot of stuff.
In the not so great legendary department, Anna Diplomatic Queen, a 3-cost uninkable 2/3 that says when you play this character, you may pay 2 to choose one. Either each opponent chooses and discards a card, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn, or banish chosen damage character.
How I feel about this card is really, let's say, lukewarm. I think she does a lot. She doesn't do a lot well. She has a lot of flexibility. I say that you have there's kind of a underlying theme in this set with the additional cost characters. I don't want to use the term from another game, but when you play a character, you can play an additional cost and have other effects stacked on to it. So it's flexible, but it's always going to be a 5 uninkable character. Uh, I just feel that it does too little.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that like the topic of this card is flexibility, but it's uninkable, so it's kind of weird. But I like the three different features. I'm not sure it's gonna be that strong because it need to pay 5 and you only have a 2/3. But maybe sometime that +2 on an opposing character could enable a criminal mind, or maybe there's a big body that's damaged. So I feel like they made it just to have another shift target for the Anna, but they're both uninkable, so that's problematic.
Alright. And because things are well made in life, let's compare that legendary with an uncommon here in Robin Hood Sneaky Sleuth. 5-drop, 3/5, shifts for 3 with Clever Plan, where this character gets +1 for each opposing damage character in play.
So we were talking about legendary uncommons. This one. I think this is one of the most exciting uncommons of the whole set. You already have the smaller Robin Hood, the one we just talked about, that fits just exactly nicely with the effect. You can get this thing huge. So I like the card a lot. That's what I'm gonna say. It's probably gonna see some play. It's probably one of the best uncommons in the whole set. So
Yeah, Robin Hood deck is gonna be a thing. It's kind of fun to have like a deck that's based on a character if you like it. And I think Robin Hood is a very loved character. It's funny because it's an uncommon, but it has the shift cost and the cost of a legendary Robin Hood that's quite expensive. So maybe that's why it's not a legendary, because they didn't want it to have two big Robin Hood. But yeah, this one is good, and we need to remember that there's a 2-drop Robin Hood that can deal damage directly to undamaged character, which is
Yep.
a shift target and an enabler for this Robin Hood and the other one. So
There's also, the turn after you play this one, there's also a little 6-drop in steel called Tinkerbell Giant Fairy
Mhm.
that synergizes quite nicely with this one.
I never heard about that card.
Oh, well.
Maybe I've been living under a rock, right?
They have a nice enchanted edit, one of the best ones.
Yeah.
You should look it up. Mother Gothel, Unwavering Schemer. 6-drop, 4/6, shift 4. The world is dark. When you play this character, each opponent chooses one of their characters and returns that card to their hand.
I think this is a very interesting but intricate card. So we've seen this kind of effect on like lesser in lower rarity cards where you have where the opponent chooses and brings back a character to hand. Sometimes it's in your favor, sometimes it might also help your opponent. I think you have to set up this card quite specifically for it to be great. But I think it's very interesting with the shift, with other Madrigals that we have in different colors. I like the card, but I think it's gonna be a hard card to play.
Yeah, I think the heart is beautiful though, but this card seems to be made for what I call the mill deck in the Emerald Steel. Like this is where you really want to bounce a card in the opponent hand and then sing the whole new world directly, because she shift 4, but she costs 6, so you can shift on another Mother Gothel, sing whole new world, and then you just basically destroy one of their character, and it can be a warded character because it's the opponent choosing it. So being able to remove a Cogsworth, for example, and then singing a whole new world to remove it from the hand completely, seems like this will potentially enable more mill deck with the Emerald Steel. We'll see.
Oh, interesting. You're welcome. 4-cost song, Inkable. Shuffle chosen character, item, or location into their player's deck. That player draws 2 cards. So, a little bit more item, but mostly location removal in green.
So I've been very vocal about it. I think it's one of my favorite card of the set. It's I just think it's great. It's very flexible removal. It targets almost anything. it gives 2 cards. You can point it at your own stuff. You can, such as we had the Yzma in purple in set 2 that you could point it onto your own rabbit, draw 3 off of it. You can do all kinds of shenanigans with it. This one is a song, so you don't lose any tempo with it. I just love it, and every time I see it, the song pops into my head. What can I say except you're welcome?
Yeah, such a good song. I think this card is pretty good. It's flexible, but also inkable, so it's really top tier flexibility. The fact that you can use it on your side is pretty good. Sometimes it's what you need, but just doing it on the other side is also pretty good. Removing a location with no cost condition, that's very strong. I could see this in Emerald Amber because you just remove something, they draw 2, and you make them discard those 2 cards. Or even in other deck. What I would like to see is a green-red deck because I want to see Maui singing that song when he has nothing to challenge.
Flavor win.
Or even if he has something to challenge, you can sing it instead of challenging, which is interesting.
The Emerald Chromicon. This one's not uninkable and costing 3. During opponent's turn, whenever one of your characters is banished, you may return chosen character to their player's hand.
So I had to read this one like a lot of times. At the beginning, I thought it was like insane, and then I just realized it was kind of okay. I think this one is also in the mid section of Chromicons. It's interesting. It protects you from like large removal or just really good removal. So you kind of have that. You can recycle your characters in a way. But I think it does kind of too little. It's 3 costed in an inkable. It's really a setup piece.
Yeah. This one is one I had to read more than once because the first time I thought was very strong. The way I read it the first time, which is wrong, is when one of my characters is banished, I can bring it back to my hand. But actually, what it does is when one of my characters banished, I can return someone else or my other character in my hand. So it's
Or your
kind of tricky.
opponents.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when one of your characters is banished, you just cast a Mother's Knows Best. Basically, it's the same thing. So it's interesting, but it's not as strong as I thought, and it's uninkable. So we'll see if it's C-play. I think it has potential to bounce your own stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I see it in a similar vein to Lyle Tiberius' work that says that whenever one of your characters is banished, I think your opponent lose lore. So it's really just punishing your opponent for attacking into your aggro strategy, basically. The Sherwood Forest that you guys sadly don't have rotated. Give me a second. Let me see if I can help with that. But basically says your characters named Robin Hood move here for free, and characters gain ward and 1 in exert, deal 2 damage to chosen damage character while here.
So I think if there's a Robin Hood deck to be made, this feels quite strong. It's having your Robins go there for free and giving them good stat lines like ward and the pitching damage onto stuff. I think it's very good. I think it's also thematic, so it's probably not going to be a competitive card, except if like the Robin deck is something insane. But I like the design they went with.
Yeah, I feel like this card is going to be really fun in at least the local leagues, because when you're doing casual play, it's fun to play thematic deck. I'm not sure if it's going to be strong yet. The feature is interesting. Ward is pretty good, but yeah, it doesn't give lore as the Queen Castle would do, but it just costs 2, so we'll see. There's a lot of potential. We'll need to try it out.
Thanks for joining us for this part 1 of our set review. Join us tomorrow for part 2 as we go through Ruby, Sapphire, and Steel. Thank you for joining Inkspill Glimmers. Thanks, Alexandru. Thanks, Patrick.
Welcome.
We'll see you guys tomorrow for the rest.